Welcome everybody to the main event, number 163. We are glad to have Israel Ayliffe with us today, somebody who I know has a good following, and for a good reason. He is a major contributor to the community on LinkedIn, does wonderful training. He's got co-founder of the House of Curiosity and curator of the Best of AI, so he is supporting the community very, very well with those things, besides all the wonderful posts that he does and the things that he teaches. Israel, I was looking at your credentials and the fact that you were a nurse's aide before you started working in AI. Some people might think that was kind of a major shift. I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because of the way that you are working in AI. And that is, a nurse's aide is somebody who is very caring and somebody who's very giving. And you certainly are both of those things with AI. I thank you for what you're doing, but it's also the reason why I thought it was high time to have you come on and join us here. So let me just briefly talk about the AI news. I've only put 7 things in the news thing today. Why? Because most of the news has to do with the word of the year, workflow. Everything is about workflow. 6 of the 7 posts on this event page are really about workflow things. Higgsfield introduces supercomputer, AI agent designed to manage complex tasks. In other words, it's starting to compete with Luma. Then Imagine Art launches Campaign Director, which is, again, one of these AI assistants that can, help, go through and do things together. Veed launches Subtitle API into their workflow, which is a way of organizing the various elements and I guess basically giving them a subtitle so that they can be organized. Alibaba Cloud brings Happy Horse to their model studio. LTX has released its open source model for AI lip sync. So that is now going to be something that can be incorporated to improve lip sync in different programs. Another one that is not necessarily related to this, but is definitely a thing to look at. Eugenio Fierro is somebody that I follow all the time because he's posting news constantly. And most of the news that I post, I'm actually swiping from him and putting links to his posts. Well, one of the things that he's included is a list of top AI experts, and he's included in that list. And then the last thing is something that is on a whole different direction, but I thought it was kind of interesting to look at, and this is a Headface, is organization in China that's working on humanoid faces for their robots. People in the United States are primarily working on functionality in terms of what the robots are capable of doing. What they're doing is they're creating a face that will be able to express emotions and communicate through its face in addition to through sound. What they're showing is a robot, the back of the head is all mechanics, the neck and the upper body is all mechanical stuff, but then they've got this face on the front, a female face, and there's a makeup artist that's making up her face and then you see her move her eyes and look around and do things. So I just thought that was kind of interesting and entertaining to see that, so I put that in the news as well. Well, Israel, when I asked you to come on, you said you would put something good together, and I certainly expected that you would do nothing else but do that. So I'm basically going to turn the floor over to you, and whatever it is that you would like to present to us today, please do.
Awesome. So, a couple directions we're gonna go in. I had Claude interview me lightly, on how AI specifically. I put that in Notion. I'm going to share that with you guys, and then I'm going to show you what I'm currently fixated on. Most of what I've done is already like on social media. What I haven't shown is client stuff I can't show. But what I'm going to show you guys is what I'm really focusing on, what I'm trying to get out of the AI currently. So for now, let me share this link with you guys so you can go along with me. Okay. This is just a short answer to what my workflow is, right? And how I necessarily think about AI, right? Right now, AI is an engine for knowledge work. So pretty much any work you can do on a computer, you can do it with AI, right? And I look at AI in three layers, and I would do it this way. The model itself is one layer, right? The harness around the model is another layer. And then the app, the harness and model live in is the third layer, right? Um, Most of us have loyalty towards sometimes a particular model or a particular harness or a particular app. You know, we swear on Higgsfield, we swear on Flora, we swear on ChatGPT, we swear on Claude, and we say it's the best or whatever. But you have to understand this: the model is interchangeable, right? Because new models are coming out all the time. The harness sometimes is, sometimes isn't, but it's what drives the engine. Whereas the app is where you're living in, right? So if you're loyal to ChatGPT, right, the harness, the model there is GPT 5.5. The harness are all the instructions that you have set around ChatGPT. And so you don't have to worry about when they update in model necessarily, unless, of how you talk to it, but the harness and the app is what you keep using, right? So the key here is not necessarily which model is better, right? It's about knowing what good looks like. As long as you know what good looks like, the model, the harness, the app won't matter as much, unless there's a game changer there, like Mythos, for example, right? If they put Mythos in Claude, that changes everything. So that's my view on how I begin with AI. The other part, knowing what good looks like. Um, since AI came, we've been talking about human in the loop, right? The human to verify the AI isn't going in the wrong way. But for that human in the loop to be able to verify, they have to know what good looks like, right? And this is the core of prompting. If in your prompt you can describe what good actually looks like, you can tell the AI what good looks like, the constraints and the rules won't matter as much. I hope that makes a little sense there, right? And the system is not just the AI or the app or the harness. You have to include yourself in it in order to create the complete system, right? The human plus the app plus the AI plus the harness. That's where you get the results you want. And then the other thing is, always remember, yes men are dangerous, right? It's the partner, a true partner is what keeps you alive. So, in this sense, having an AI always saying, you're absolutely right, I apologize, you need to work with your AI. In which case, this instruction should live in your harness that says, be my novelist, be my assumption challenger, right? Don't just accept what I give you, challenge it. Do your research and challenge it, because that's how you learn what good looks like, by being challenged on your assumption or understanding of what good is. All right. So we can pause there for a moment if anybody has any questions.
I agree with everything you're saying there, and I think that the I get a kick out of it. It doesn't matter what chat program I'm working with. They're always positive. They're always, oh, that's a great idea, and if you give it a compliment, it's always, oh, I really appreciate you said that. I mean, it's that's always the answer. It's very interesting, and they always answer in a format. And
Hmm.
as long as you understand that, you can go ahead and train the program on who you are and what you expect and everything. But uh, you have to have your own judgment as to whether something is good or not, because they're always going to be, oh, that's a great idea. I'm so glad you do it. That sort of thing.
Very true.
Any, Anybody else, please? Okay, keep going.
Right. Okay. So, what my usual workflow looks like, right? I'm a big advocate for research first, right? Research whatever it is that you're going to do. You're going to get to a far better answer, even if you're inspired to do something, right? Research it to cover any gaps that you have, because we only know what we know. And we have to continue learning, right? And that's where the research and the brainstorm comes in. For example, for research, I like LinkedIn and X a lot. I figure out what exactly is like popping with people, what people are creating. I take that to say Claude. I write a research agent that I'm gonna run in Grok, right? Because Claude is a really good prompter. And of the models I've ever used, Claude is the best prompter and the best planner, right? So write the research agent, run that in Grok for what people on X and Reddit are saying. I don't like to personally go on Reddit myself because of how toxic it is, but people do share first on X and Reddit. So knowing that lets me know I don't have to necessarily go to Reddit myself. Grok is good enough to get the meat of what I want from Reddit. Once that information comes back, I go back to Claude and it and I brainstorm on what fits what I do, right? What would work for me and what's worth learning for next time. Um, Once that I'm satisfied with that is when I call up another skill. We start writing some prompts of what I want to do, right? Or we first come up with the brief. And in this sense, the brief is the plan. It's important to have the plan because the plan is not just what the AI is going to do. The plan is the benchmark for how the AI is going to verify what exactly you ask it to do, right? So you have the brief, you have the prompts, you generate what you need to generate. Um, and in this case, I'd either go to Midjourney, or I'd go to Flora, or I'd go to ChatGPT, just depending on which model I want to use and what I want to use it for. You obviously do the ideation, and for ideation, say I went to Flora, right? Come with me for a second. I went to Flora, right? And I need to verify whatever project I'm working on if it's good or if it meets a certain standard. That's when I'm currently using the Atlas browser, but even in Chrome, you have access to Gemini, right? You can ask Gemini. It has vision. You can ask Claude. It has vision. And Codex released an extension for Chrome as well. You can use Codex inside Chrome. So all our browsers are practically AI browsers at this point. So make use of your AI browsers to be that third eye that's helping you, navigate, right? If the first eye is you, the second eye is whatever LLM system you use to come up with the idea. The third eye, right, which can be this, I can give it the plan that Claude came up with, and I can say, hey, look at the project that just met. Does it meet the plan we came up with? Tell me where the inconsistencies are. I'll take those back to Claude, and we can then brainstorm how we can fix the issue. So having vision, or the AI having vision on what you're working on is very important, right? So that's the ideate part and the verify part, right? And then the final assembly, right? Now you have everything. You've worked it out, you've downloaded it, but it's in your downloads, for example, and it's not well organized. This is when you do your final assembly, right? Now that AI have access to connectors, right? You can ship your what you generated to Notion. You can ship it to Google Drive. You can give the AI the images you generated, have it create a Google Doc and put that in Google Docs. You can do all these things to put your creations inside your second brain, so to say, right? For me, right here, this is my second brain. Everything I create ships to my Notion for the most part. And so Notion is my second brain, and both Codex, right? Codex, ChatGPT, Claude, all three of these have access to that same Notion page, meaning that all three of them can collaborate on whatever I am working on because they all have access to the same docs, right? That's the final assembly part. And that's pretty much what my workflow looks like. Now, how I specifically AI with different modalities of AI, right? LLMs, image gen, video gen platforms, and skills, right? And skills apply to all the above. Okay, so how I AI with LLMs, right? How I split my work. Claude is where I plan and think. Claude is an amazing planner, an amazing thinker. It honestly comes up with the best prompts, the best plans. They are well detailed and they get to the meat of what you want to get. Codex, however, is a better executioner. And here I'm talking about Codex, the harness, right? Codex is both an app and a harness, right? Codex and ChatGPT are using the same model underneath, GPT 5.5. However, the output I would get from ChatGPT would be less impressive than the output I get from Codex, right? So Claude, the model, where I think and plan. Codex, the harness, where I execute everything. ChatGPT right now has become where I experiment and generate images because I just like how they come out there and the fact that I have access to the thinking model. Excuse me. And why I say this, right? You could say, well, Xfield has access to ChatGPT image 2. Flora has access to ChatGPT image 2. ImagineArt has access to ChatGPT image 2. Why would I then bother use it in ChatGPT? And the key here is which ChatGPT image 2 do these platforms have access to? Remember, there are two modalities, right? Instant and thinking. Instant is worse than Nano Banana 2. You might as well just use Nano Banana 2. Whereas thinking is superior to Nano Banana 2. So you want thinking, right? And I am not 100% certain, for example, that in Flora, I have access to thinking, okay? I'll give you this example. These were generated with Fauna, right? The Fauna agent. I did not once touch any node, but I have a trouble telling, is this the thinking model? Is this the non-thinking model, right? Because I am certain that Nano Banana could generate these images just as well. But how I know that they don't have thinking, right, comes down to this. Don't ask me how, it's just a feeling. Anyway, So that's how I split those two. And Grok, obviously, Grok is where I check the pulse, right? And by this I mean breaking news, what the people who are on the jump are creating, right? The trending stuff, not necessarily the stuff that's production worthy, but the trending stuff and the new use cases for these AI models usually pops up on X first. So Grok is my X researcher, right? Gemini, however, if I'm searching anything academic, um, I would recommend to people probably use Perplexity, Deep Research, and Gemini. However, too many subscriptions. I'm only picking the subscriptions I have, right? So Gemini Deep Research. So far, I've found it to be the best of all the deep researches here, right? Now, pretty much that's what I use Gemini right now. Of course, we are anticipating the release of Veo Omni, right? Veo 4 and Nano Banana 3. So, whereas I'm using ChatGPT for experiment and images, should the new models that Google releases, should I have access to them with this plan? That's where my experiments and image generation are going to be, because I expect that it's going to give me better value for the input I give it, right? So I'm not necessarily loyal to particular image model or video or whatever. I'm loyal to who fits my workflow the best at that moment, right? And as for DeepSeek, so you can search on X what people are doing, say with C Dance 2, right? But remember, the people on X are like a beat behind the people in China that are playing with C Dance 2, right? And what model has access to the Chinese market better than the models I've already named? And that's DeepSeek. So whenever I am researching a Chinese model, right, what people are prompting with the model, what prompting formulas work best, things like those, I'm going to use DeepSeek. And it is really good at getting you the answer you want. In fact, it is how I built this particular skill, right? That first writes a prompt for ChatGPT, and then writes the prompt for C Dance. Two, this particular skill is a combination of my GPT Image 2 skill and my video prompter skill. Yes. So these two skills. My video prompter skill was created using DeepSeek, what it gathered from people in China, what they were doing. So you can tell how I build my skills. My skill will have the skill MD, quite lean, very lean. Then it's going to have the actual skill, right? Super lean, less than 500 words or so. Then I have the agents, right? These are the guys that do everything. If my skill is the router, the agents do everything. And the agents use assets, right? And they use references to make sure that they're on point. I have in here in references, CDANS patterns, right? I have exactly timeline brackets, right? Reference tag, positive constraints, digital audio cues, all this my skill is aware of. And that's how I pretty much, work with my LLMs, in that they do the research. I port that research into something that creates a skill, and I create a skill out of that. That way I don't have to necessarily keep remembering the workflows all the time. I can go to Claude, I can go to the skill and I say, hey, look, I have this asset and this asset. What can we do with it, right? It gives me the initial idea. And then that initial idea, I can then flesh that out, add some of my own taste to it, right? Hey, this is what it generated. I feel like it's trash. But this is what I'm thinking we can do with it, because that initial generation has already given me the idea I want to go in, right? So for Claude, I use Opus 4.7. I don't necessarily bother with the other models in there. I'm really big on thinking mode, right? And the more thinking it does for me, the better the output. While Codex, I don't use it as a coding app. I use it as an everything app, right? It runs my computer. I've given it full access to my entire computer. It knows everything that's in there. It also generates images. And so I use Claude to write the plan that then Codex is going to follow. I don't use Codex to plan. I use Codex to execute. ChatGPT, like I've said, that's my experimenting and image generation, and I prefer using ChatGPT on mobile. For some reason, it just has a better interface for me, and I enjoy it on mobile. And because I use Midjourney mostly on my mobile as well, on the go, I'm just busy generating stuff in Midjourney because I love that. It pairs well with my GPTs in ChatGPT. I have a particular GPT in ChatGPT, and I can show you guys. And this particular GPT is my go-to. I have one customized for Niji, and yeah, it started here, and I've improved it over time. But this particular GPT, I use it for generating styles in Midjourney. So I'll give it like a screenshot of something I'm doing, and I'll give it the sref code, and I'll ask it to give me a batch of 24 prompts, and I'm going to run those. I'm going to see which direction I want to go in with that particular style, right? And that has allowed me to work much faster with srefs because I'm able to get to the style I want. And as I said before, Grok, that's my research for Reddit. Gemini, that's my deep research. And DeepSeek, better to access Chinese networks, right? How do I pick them, right? So what is the job? Planning and writing, Claude. Execution, code, computer use, Codex. Mobile image gen, on the fly work, ChatGPT. Real-time pulse, Grok. Deep research, Gemini. Chinese model research, DeepSeek. Yeah. All right. So before we continue anything,
What I like about what you've presented so far is you haven't created an image yet. You know, this is all the preparation for it, and which is such a far cry from, well, let me sit down and see what kind of picture this app will make. You know, such an important lesson. You have to realize that the reason why your work stands out the way that it does is because of what's behind it. And that's certainly, that. I want to go back to one thing you brushed away there, and that is you showed a face, raised a question about, well, you looked at it and you saw that it wasn't done with a thinking model. And I just was curious as to what you were seeing that, made you see that.
To be honest, it's just a feeling. It's actually one of the better images I've gotten. But I can go in a different example to show you exactly why I feel like GPT image.
By the way, Glenn and Eric have apologized that they can't be here today. They're working on a project together, and they're in a recording studio right now.
Nice. Okay.
And notice June Chow is here from Malaysia.
Woohoo! Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit too many artifacts, even though you don't necessarily see them, right? But if this was thinking, you know what? Let's even just try it, right? Let's go to ChatGPT. We have thinking on.
You want to share your screen?
It's not sharing?
No, we're seeing you.
So here we might be able to, okay. So I stand corrected. Flora specifically is using the thinking mode. Okay? When you call up GPT, right? And I have these in 1K to save credits. Okay, quality high, GPT image. Yeah, they don't say it that they're using the thinking version, but it is using thinking mode, and I can verify that by checking out this image. We got pretty much the same image that we did in Flora. However, I actually like the image in ChatGPT 2 in ChatGPT a lot better than the image in Flora. Either way, that confirms that. Okay. Anything else you had to ask?
People? Any questions? Just raise your hand and we can call on you.
I have a thought or question. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead, Mark.
The idea of things being invisible, like for example, Flora not indicating exactly how GPT image 2 is implemented. I guess it kind of stuff like that drives me crazy. I usually want to know, just so I can have a sense of what quality I'm going for. It might affect my prompting depending on the model. And I'm wondering if it makes sense just to ask them, one of us at least, and then publish it and then post in LinkedIn. So, for example, ImagineArt has a new film studio. It's in beta, and I was doing some beta testing, and there was no indication what the image generator was behind that application. So I did ask, and I found out it was Banana Pro. But I think for a lot of us, we kind of want to know, and I don't know if we want to just start asking the platforms, "Hey, can you just make it clear exactly what the image model is, or the video model is, and what the how it's implemented, if thinking versus fast and so forth."
Mhm.
I think it's important for a lot of folks, and
It is. It
and
is.
also there's an idea with some platforms. I hear it off and on where they'll say the model used is what's going to fit the request best. It's like, well, wait a second, I still want to know what the model is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They push you towards something, and then sometimes not telling you what model it is so that they can charge you a little extra in the credits, right? You see, for example, they say ChatGPT image 2 is expensive, and you're looking at the price and you're like,
Yeah.
wow. And then you go to another platform and you see ChatGPT image 2 is cheap, and you're like, this is a better platform. But you also have to think which one had the thinking and which one had the instant, because instant is pretty cheap and thinking is quite expensive. So sometimes it's not in their best interest to tell you, simply because they want to charge you a little bit more while it's hot, right? So they
Right.
can get a little bit more back, because everybody's going to be using it. If everybody knows, oh, damn, they got C Dance too, right? And then they're like, but it's not C Dance 2 Omni. What's the difference? That's how I see it. There's a lot of incentive to lie to you.
I'm not sure it's so much lying. Unless it's lying by hiding the details and just not sharing those details. And maybe 95% of users aren't thinking about this, but I think the few percent, like those on this call, who think about this kind of stuff, want to know.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So for me, what makes a prompt work, right? Three things for me matter, right? You have constraints. What are the limits that you're placing on the model, right? You have rules, right? What are your instruction? What's the tone? What's the format? What's the length? And then you have what good looks like. In this case, it can be an actual example of output you want. You can add that to the prompt. You can add that as an attachment, or you can describe it in natural language, what good looks like, right? But the what good looks like is the most important part of what makes a prompt work. If you describe that, even if your constraints and rules are trash, it's going to stick its attention to what good looks like. And that's how you're going to get to what you want. I hope that makes a little bit of sense to people. The other thing I would say, I would just give you my current stack in image generation, right? Right now, Midjourney 8.1, that's where I generate the style I want, where I find the look I need. GPT Image 2 is right now the main model I'm playing with. I really like the things that you can do with it and how smart it is, right? I call Midjourney the dumb model. I call GPT-2 Image the smart model, right? And these two are in between that, right? Nano Banana 2 and Pro, I rarely use now, but I do use it inside Google Flow because it pairs well with VO 3.1. And then Recraft V4. I love this model. It's not the best, but I love the aesthetic that it gives. All right, so we can do this in order of examples, right? Midjourney examples. Why I like Midjourney. Style, right? I'm able to pair how many of these? Like 4 different prompts to get the images I want, right? And this is how I get to the styles I want. I will generate, like in this case, 624 images, and then I will go through this to curate, right? Like I personally love this. I think it's beautiful. I can go into ChatGPT and fix this, and I can still get to this. So Midjourney for style, nothing is more gorgeous. Like I personally love Midjourney and the style that it can give, right? Where things come out unique. No other model can create something as unique as Midjourney does. So that's where I go for my style. Okay. Somebody had a question?
Someone?
Oh, I thought I heard something. All right. And then
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, since we are talking about Midjourney and ChatGPT, I would like to know like how you prefer to mix the styles of Midjourney while generating the images in ChatGPT.
Hmm. So,
Like I recently tried this, but I felt the difference between the styles. Like Midjourney images are pretty much clearer.
mhm,
ChatGPT gave the style that I was looking for, but not accurately. So,
yeah.
is there any way like we can fix this thing, or maybe providing more style images? Like we used to train Laura with uh, more examples of the same style.
Yeah, so you have to give it at least so in this case for this style, right? I would have to get the best, say 10 images that describe the style. I would put
Hmm.
those 10 images inside say Claude, because Claude is the better vision model, right? Opus 4.7, not necessarily Claude, but Opus 4.7 is the better vision model, right? Go ahead and break this style down to its very DNA, right? It's most minute DNA, the exact colors involved in everything, right? Then you write the prompt that includes that DNA plus a reference to the style of the images, right? You combine those two to supplement each other. And that's how you get GPT Image 2 to stick to the style and not drift to something else entirely.
Okay, so while we are going on the Claude will give us the prompt of those style images.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Claude. So you take those images to Claude because Claude is a better prompter. It will give you a much better style than ChatGPT will as a prompter, because ChatGPT's vision capabilities are second compared to Claude's. I hope that makes sense. I had something I had done.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. So this was my input, right? Style
Mhm.
input. The prompt I used, right? Use the uploaded images as the primary style reference. Generate 8 separate 4-5 Mother's Day greeting cards. All cards might share unified visual DNA, right? I write out the DNA. I reiterate how many cards I want. I reiterate what each card has, right? I give it a important verification loop, right? And this is what it generated. And so, thank you, whatever. And this is in ChatGPT. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is what it came up with, right? For the most part, it added its own flair to the images, but stayed within the constraints of the style I had established from Midjourney. And that's how I do that, right?
So for this example, you just gave your style images to ChatGPT directly, and you didn't go to the cloud to generate to like go
No,
deep
no, no,
into
no,
its.
no, no.
Uh,
Where do you think this prompt came from?
okay, this came from Cloud.
Yes, yes, because like
Okay.
I reiterated, Claude is a better vision model, right? It's better to it's easier for it to come up with this than ChatGPT would,
Mhm.
right? Hence
Right.
why I
Right.
went to Claude, got the prompt, then came back to ChatGPT for its image model and generated these 8 images with a single prompt.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then I can show you things why I personally enjoy Recraft, right? All right. So this is Recraft V4. This is the V4 Pro. And I really, it has that AI glossiness to it, but you can use ChatGPT to remove that. However, it's really good. It understands fashion really well. Honestly, you could see this type of image on Pinterest and brands could use it for something. So, Recraft V4, I personally really enjoy the aesthetic it has. Um, all these images are pretty much exactly what I wanted, right? And I run it again. I run that same prompt using Phoner, right? The agent. It generated all these 24 images in one go. And again, I was testing the Recraft to see how well it does. And I'm honestly very pleased with it, right? I can use any one of these images I like as an asset and really design something, with it. But it's a wonderful model.
Why do you
And
think? Why do you think it's giving so much glossiness?
that's just how the model is. They haven't necessarily perfected their data set, in that if you really look at these images, you can tell they probably trained this model on just magazine images or digital magazine covers or whatever. This really gives magazine than anything else. So it has to definitely do with their training set, right? Because even their um, illustrations look like straight out of a magazine versus anything. And if you don't specify, for example, gaze off camera, she's gonna be straight looking at you, like just watching your soul. I'm like, girl, I don't want you watching my soul. But yeah, so that's what it gives. However, in this particular exercise, I was testing whether Fauna could use VCraft V4 and VCraft V4 Vector at the same time, and it didn't disappoint, right? And most of these I can clean using GPT Image 2, so they're not necessarily a worry. And then this I also generated with Recraft V4. I was testing first of all, the look, also the typography, how good it is at typography. And to me, of course, I'm not an expert in this. So in this situation, I don't know what necessarily good looks like, but I like this. So my amateurish eyes like the output I was getting with this. So here I was just checking what it can do, how well it can position, how it can make it look, if it sticks to the physics or if it just makes things look good. So yeah, this is what I was working on in Recraft. And then I tried that same approach inside. Oh, I redid it in here, not in here, but I tried it in ChatGPT as well. And ChatGPT, for the most part, the stuff came out looking a little bit generic at first, even though I liked the output, I would say. As you can see, the text is clear. You can see everything in the text, but it just feels like something out of a training data, versus anything substantial. But then I asked Fona to generate something a little bit darker, right? And it did pretty good for the most part. Still not that impressed with GPT image when it comes to this kind of stuff. I would say go there with the style reference that you want to specifically use in order to get what you want. However, in things like logos and posters and typography, GPT image 2 wins, right? I find it very beautiful, excuse me. And it's able to do a lot of different languages, right? Though I still don't like that yellow piss look that it has. Even this model has this yellowness to it that you would have to prompt it out of the image. So just be aware of it when you're prompting. Hey, don't include any of that yellow piss in the image. That's what I call it. It's not appropriate, but yeah. But overall, I personally like how these came out. It's just a little bit of taste there involved that I wouldn't find with another model. So GPT image 2 wins in that regard, right? Yeah. And then I tried some of these mock-up stuff. I didn't like how they came out. They're very generic, to be honest with you. Excuse me. Right. Even though the text is mostly correct, right? So on app mockup, the text is pretty much correct. It's just it still seems a little bit AI sloppish. And you can try prompting that out. Where is the second batch? You can try prompting that out, but really coming with your own reference is, I think it's fundamental when you're working with these image generators, right? If I say I generated a color reference inside Midjourney and then used that to generate these, the output would be a lot more to my liking. Of course, I'm biased for Midjourney style output. So yeah, that's my Recraft and GPT 2 image. Actually, let me take you guys to Flow and show you the nonsense I have over there. Now with Flow, I was mostly generating some influencer characters for a partner of the Curiosity Co-op, trying to see how well it could do. We can start with these. I suppose I'll probably have to run these images in ChatGPT, make them less AI. But for the most part, when it comes to instruction following, Nano Banana 2 is still really, really good. And as you can tell, I haven't been able to share this project yet. I've been pretty much sick all week. But this is like, well, what's in here are the throwaways that didn't get chosen. And then we have some luxury lo-fi, velvet suits. We were also testing how well Nano Banana 2 uses its restrictiveness, right? How far it can go before it says cannot generate this kind of image, So this I called this the vacation dump, right? Selfies in the mirror to vacation, and I cycled through particular ethnicities, right, to see how well it does it. It's pretty long. I was pretty impressed. However, I tried this same style with GPT Image 2, and whereas in Nano Banana you have to add the negative prompt that says don't make the body stick figure, keep the curves, make them look more real, like you would see of an influencer or something. In Nano Banana you add that same negative prompt to it, and you're going to get very distorted and almost sexualized outcomes than you would be comfortable with. I also tested Nano Banana on some just brand stuff. I wasn't necessarily impressed with the output as much as I would have been. I like the Apple stuff. I think anything Apple is always dope because Apple is a very clean brand. Porsche, Aesop, like all these other stuff. It's so. I have this very high. I don't share something unless I understand myself that somebody can make use of this and accomplish something a little bit better than I would have. That's why I share. Above that, if it's not gonna, go crazy, I'm not interested, right? But yeah, that's pretty much how I have been working, and why I shared this little thing. I wasn't obviously able to get through the whole how I AI, but the rest is pretty much self-explanatory. I definitely look about skills, how I have categorized my skills. I think that's going to inform some people. But overall, yeah, that's my work. Sorry if it's a little disappointing. If I can find you guys.
Israel, can we get the link one more time? Because I came in a little later.
I got you.
Thank you.
And again, Israel, thank you for your enormous generosity. The materials that you offer in Notion is incredible. It's really, really good.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll give it back to you, Big Al. Don't know how to stop sharing.
I wanted to ask you about how much are you doing with video?
I have been playing with C-Dance inside Flora a little bit. Just testing the workflows the people have out there. If you want, I can show you guys that real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
It's nothing special really, but
we can run over at any time.
Okay, cool. To Flora. Okay, so in this little workflow, very little, I generated this image, right? I saw this thing trending on X, Sportscast, whatever. And so you generate the image inside GPT Image 2, right? Not bad at all. And then I generated variations, right? And these are the variations. And then I generated a video with C-Dance for each of the images. Now, I will tell you this. This is a waste of tokens. And why that is because for me personally, I'm on the Creative Partners program. So like I can go stupid with it, right? Because I'm testing, they have me testing their Fona, as Fona has now skills. So I'm testing that for them. and seeing where they need to fix it up. And then Sacha is going to have my input so they can fix it up for them. But these are the outputs I got. This one I think is still my favorite. Let's open this. Can you guys hear that?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I'm messing with. As you can see, the only inconsistency here is that her wound on her face gets bigger and bigger. But overall, it did as I asked. Pretty good.
You might need to share your computer's audio. Your audio is the computer audio we didn't hear. I hear you, but not the video.
You can't hear the audio from this?
No, you have to click those two buttons when you go to share.
But that's pretty much what I'm working with inside C-Dance. I'm not, bothering where I'm just bothering to learn how to use the models. I haven't been creating as much with video, but I do know how to prompt them. Sometimes a little bit better than most people.
Well, I think the same thing that you've been talking about in terms of doing research and everything for stills applies to storytelling as well. You have to have an idea. You have to figure out what's the best way to tell that story, and then after you've gone through all that process, then you can start creating the videos after you've gotten stills and whatever to bring it together. Excellent presentation, and the thing that I appreciate the most is the fact that you're far beyond, let's see what kind of picture I can get here, do me a picture of a pretty girl, or the ones that I always used to get a kick out of in the early days of Midjourney was how many people were doing pictures of Nike shoes or combination of ninjas and stormtroopers. And you're mute again.
And astronauts. Don't forget astronauts.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Anybody have any further comments you want to make? Because I will allow time for you to do that.
I just say thank you, brother, for all you give. It's awesome, man. I wish we all had your brain. We'd be all getting in the muck of everything. That'd be a fantastic ride.
Well, it's not really the brain. It's just the research. You guys already, for the most part, I think everybody on here has a particular taste, right? And that's what makes you unique, because the thing is, we all have access to the same tools. So being you is far better than being anybody else. And so just do your research, stick to your tastes. Don't try to be more special than another person. Just try to be special than you are at this very moment. And for me, this is what AI affords me, is the ability to learn at an expedited pace that I'm then able to fill the gaps that already exist in my mind. Now, am I going to fill them all out? I doubt. However, the more I learn, the better my perception and understanding of what good is becomes.
Linda, go ahead.
Hey, Israel. I there's a part in the process of what I do where it makes me so happy when it works. What's the part in your process that just when it clicks, it's like everything's working, life is good?
For me, because of the way I start, I would say my foundation, right? If I have a system that can replicate a result over and over and over again and keep that same level of quality, for me, that's when I say right? And that's why I find, for example, skills and the ability to understand the underlying structure behind image, video, LLMs is powerful, because you can usually anticipate the results you're going to get simply by how much the foundation that you've already set, how good it is. If you have your research, for example, and it's robust enough, and you tell the AI with a simple instruction like Al just said, give me an image of a beautiful woman, right? But if you pair that with whatever research that you have, it's not just going to look at your initial instruction of beautiful woman. It's going to look at, okay, so Israel is asking for a beautiful woman, but let me check this other research he's just given me to see what directions we can go in, so that, I know that in memory, I know that he hates AI slop. So I won't go in that direction he just told me, but I can reinterpret his instruction to make it a little more unique and a little more him than just the initial instruction. This is why having the foundation, having the LLM get to know you, having a harness around the LLM and the particular app you're using is a powerful mechanism to get the results you want.
You walk a line that's very interesting between qualitative and quantitative. You're heading towards quantitative, where you want to get a foundation, you want to have a plan that's followed and organized, but then you still make enough room in there for that whatever that magic is that happens along the way. You do a wonderful job. Thank you.
In terms of that, Linda, what comes to my mind is, as an art director doing a photo shoot with a photographer, and the photographer will give you, 100, 150, 200 pictures that they've shot in order to cover the thing, and they will take and let you select what's the best. What I've always done when I was working with a photographer was say, when you were looking through the camera, you saw something that struck you as, now I know we've got the shot. Show me that shot. Show me the ones you prefer, and then I can go from there. But that is, that selectivity process. Any one of those shots might work, except for the one where the model's picking her nose. But the thing is that you've got all these nice shots, but there's one that is the best, and that is a process of selecting down until you come to that one, and that's essentially what you're doing.
Yes, curation, right? Curation is important, and curation is informed by your particular tastes and the knowledge that you've acquired over time, the experience, right? Experience plus taste is the benchmark you're using for your curation process, and that's personally what I do. The thing I'm lacking in my process is the long experience, but that's the thing I am building now. As far as taste, that's another thing I'm building, but I do have my own prior taste that's not informed by knowledge, but by life.
Your personal life. I always wonder what it would be like to access somebody else's account on Midjourney and then choose from there, and how different those choices would be, because I think that's fascinating. I find you tend towards certain colors, you tend towards certain movements, and it's almost you're oblivious to the fact that you're doing that. You're just picking the best image. But by doing that, you're really moving in your own location. It's fascinating. I'll get off. I think Teresa had a question.
We've got a couple more questions, but I on that same score, you go through LinkedIn, and sometimes you see a picture and you don't even have to look at the name. You know who's come up with it because they have a certain approach to what they're doing. Alan, you had a question or comment?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I just, aside from this, which is a related subject, other than us being on, creative partnership programs, this stuff is awfully expensive, man. And, there's so many programs and platforms coming out every day. It's very hard to choose. And I have to say for myself and probably many of us, we're trying to watch the pennies. So if there's a way that in your search, Israel, you could sort of guide us in that direction, man, that it'd be awesome. It would be very much appreciated because there's so much confusion about pricing, and the renewals, that's a problem for a lot of us. I hope that I'm speaking for not just myself in that.
Yeah, I'd like to also say on that, I think that what Israel has done is given us a lot of recommendations on what works best for certain things. I mean, I took notes about Claude being better on prompting images, that GPT is better on type, and that Nano Banana need negative prompts. These are all things that you said that I wrote down because those were important new things for me to think about. How else would you answer, Israel?
I would say it this way, right? Remove the platform from your head. Remove the particular model that you want to use. Remove all those and simply think about your workflow, right? What do I need to do? If you have a project, what do I need to do? What tools do I need? And then choose those tools, right? This way, at least if you're spending the right way and not wasting it on unnecessary subscriptions, because a lot of these subscriptions are unnecessary. For example, why does one need to be a CCP or whatever for Higgsfield, Flora, ImagineArt, all these things? It just understand that. That means you have to learn each single platform. That takes away from the other fundamental things that you have to learn, which is at the ground level, the foundation. So, rev up your foundation, focus on that, then focus on the workflows. And remember, no loyalty to a particular program, no loyalty to a particular app, no loyalty to a particular whatever. Just choose what's best for the project. That's how I would do it.
Well, the other thing in regards to that, if you are working commercially to create things, I mean, if it's just a hobby, it's a different thing, but anything that you're spending on stuff is all a business expense that's tax deductible. Yes, Teresa.
Thank you, Israel. That was super informative. I just wanted to say that the way you're curating is not unlike when you would shoot photography and you would have strips and negatives that you would put into sleeves. We were just talking about this at the House of Curiosity. And they're called thumbnails. So you'd make a contact sheet of those thumbnails and then you'd mark them. And those are the ones you're going to print. Doesn't mean those are the ones you're going to use, but those are the ones you're going to print. And that's exactly what you're doing. So that's old school photography method. And I see Al's agreeing with me because he knows what, what I mean. And the other thing is regarding the tools and the projects. You might want to try this. I don't know. I came up with it the other day because I was overwhelmed with projects, commitments, and tools. And like you said, I use the CPP tools because to save money, like Alwyn was talking about. And there's a lot of things I can do now that I didn't used to do just 6 months ago because I couldn't afford all the different things. So I gamified it. Try this. I went to Claude. I gave him my to-do list. And I made a list of my toolkit. And then I made a list of the calendar and what I have to do every week and what I have to do every day. And because I used to work in games, I gamified it. So all I have to do now is just go to Claude and say, okay, what's the day? What do I have to do? And what tools are available? And what haven't I used? And he just matches them up. And I go, okay, so today I'm going to make this in this platform, and I can use part of it to double up for something else. So for when I worked old school, I would do the same thing. If I had to make a film, actual film, and at the same time I had to make a self-portrait series, I would use that film and present it to the class as the film. And then I would make stills from the film and I would present that to the other class that I had to do for self-portraits. So you can do the same thing with what you're doing. Sometimes it does double duty. Sometimes it does triple duty. You make your commitment for the CPP program. You're doing the AI challenge. And at the same time, maybe you're preparing part of those images for something else. So gamify it in Claude, and Claude really does work the best for prompting, I think. Thank you so much. Just adding my 2 cents.
No, thank you. I want to add one other thing about learning these programs, and that is find out by things that you're pushing the programs to do, find out what it's not good at yet. For example, I was wanting a picture of 2 kids swinging on swings on a swing set. I didn't find a program that could deal with the physics of how those chains would swing, and affected by the weight of the kids and which chains they were holding on to and everything. And so I came up with a perfect solution. We switched to the kids riding a bike. You give up on certain things. The other thing that I was just doing last night with Luma, I'm working on a video, and we were working on the voices of these 2 characters, and I wasn't getting the kind of voice intonation that I thought the lines should be read. And what I did was I turned on the microphone on the program, and I recited the lines the way I thought they should be said. And they did it. They followed my guidance on that. Something that I was actually saving until the last of the month main event was on my little kids video thing that I did on amusing themselves. There's a sequence of 4 kids at the end of the thing that are whistling the tune that is being played. What we found out was that lip syncing does understand word formation. It has no understanding of whistling. After we tried a number of different things, I said, I've got a solution for you. I took my iPhone, I recorded myself with the music playing, the whistling music playing, and I was going like this, and it duplicated my actions with my cheek movement, my head movements, and everything, and that's how I got the kids to be whistling. We were working around the program's shortfall. So these are, all of these things. I guess what I'm basically saying is there's a way to accomplish what you want, particularly today, because programs are capable of doing so much more than they could not just a year ago, but 2 months ago. Let me just very quickly go through the list of upcoming main events. I did post this list yesterday. The people that are on it have been reposting it. Next Friday, we are going to be meeting at a different time than we normally do because Roni Barada is in Portugal and is not available at 12 o'clock our time. So we're on only this one time at 10 a.m. So that's going to be on. He is a phenomenal film producer in Portugal, and he also is working now in AI, and I think it'll be interesting to see what he thinks about not only transitioning, but also where AI is going in the film industry. The following Friday, the 29th, is when we will be looking at everybody's response to the Big Al Big AI Challenge of Prompting Emotions. Friday, June 5th, we have our good friend Mark Matthias is here. And then on the 12th of June, Lori Mazer and Harriet Moser join me in talking about creating music with Suno. On the 19th of June, we have the terrific architect Eva Norte from London is going to be joining us. I don't know, the Friday the 26th of June, we will be looking at everybody's response to the June challenge, which will be announced at the 29th when we're doing the responses to the May challenge. July 3rd is still open. On the 10th, Jim Keen is a terrific film guy in Manhattan. Be a very interesting show to see him. So we've got a lot of good people coming up, and I'm really very pleased that I'm able to present such a cadre of talented people and that they're willing to join us. Israel, once more, thank you. You did not disappoint. You're doing the kind of quality work you're doing because of your instinct and capabilities that you bring to your research. So thank you so much for today.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Get to see all these wonderful people while I'm at it. So this was awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you, bro.
After I do some editing of the tape, I will be posting this on my YouTube channel and making it people know where that is. So